Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the tutorials on Galaxy for Bioinformatics. In today's video, we are going to look at how to build a workflow for DESeq2. And so by the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to generate this workflow that has been shown right now. So let's get started. So before we build the workflow, let's take a look at this tutorial here. So this is the original tutorial. So I'm following what has been indicated here. Okay, so for this tutorial, this is the reference-based RNA Seq data analysis. I'll leave the link to this page in the description box. So I've covered some aspects of it already. So I'm going to look at this side here, analysis of the differential gene expression. So I'll look at how to use DESeq2 to identify differentially expressed genes. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So let's get back to our Galaxy page. And before you proceed, make sure to create an account and then sign in so that your sessions are saved. So before we proceed with the workflow building, let's take a look at our input data. Okay, so we are going to import the data sets here, everything here. All right. So what I want you to do is to copy these links. These are the links to the files we will use. And then I'll also explain a couple of things here. So copy them. And by the way, the link to this page is in the description box. I repeat, the link to this page, okay, the link to this file which has the links is in the description box. Okay, so let's do this. So let's copy everything and then let's go to the Galaxy environment and then let's come to upload data. So click upload data and then when you are here, come to paste/fetch data. So click it and then when you are here, paste your links. So that is it. So once you are done, click on start. So when you click on start, you have to wait for the progress bar to get to 100% and then you can close the window. So let's close the window and then let's wait for the files to get uploaded for us. Okay, the files have been imported. So we have them here. So from 1 to 7, they are read counts. These were generated using feature counts. And I have this tutorial that shows how to generate the counts. All right, so before you run DESeq2, you need to make sure you have your read counts. So there are tools that can be used to do that. And one of them is feature counts. And I've covered a tutorial on that. So check the description box, you'll find the link to that video. And you also have design tags. So this file here contains information that we'll use. So these files belong to groups. So the design tags has the information. So each file here has its group. So the file, or let's say the sample, as well as the group it belongs to, that information can be found in the design tags. Okay, so let me just take you through this file again. I have one locally on my PC. I think we have to look at that first before we design the workflow. Okay, so let's take a look at the file. It is this one here, design tag. So I'll open it with my spreadsheet software. So this is it. Let's just take a look at that. Yeah, so this is it. I'll just enlarge it a bit. So these are tags. I generated them using one of the Galaxy tools. But the original file itself is here. Let's look at this is design. Let's just open it. Let me see. Okay, so this is the original file itself. So we have the sample ID, we have the treatment, we have sequence. So these are factors. All right. So it is this information that has been rewritten, okay, or let me say represented in this format here. All right. So this format, because we are going to run DESeq2 on Galaxy, that's why I had to put it in this format and then we can easily select them. So if you have your own data sets, then check the design and then you can just follow the same pattern here. You can just follow the format here and then also create your design tags. Alternatively, if you have a challenge, you can also contact me and then we can work something out. All right, so that's it. And we also have the counts. I'll just open one of them. Let me do this. I'll open it rather with a spreadsheet software. Yeah, so there's the count. So we have the gen ID and then the count. So we have one file for each sample. So we have all of them here. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, this one is not part. I think I don't need it. It's the file that I don't need. It's not part of the data itself, so don't worry about it. All right, so we have 7 samples, and we also have the design tags. So that is what we have here. Okay, so now we have our input files. So let's start. So now we are going to design a workflow. Okay, now before we develop the workflow, before we create the workflow, all right, we need to format the data, the accounts. We need to put them in a collection. All right, so collections allow us to group together or aggregate data together or files together, and then we can treat those files as a single entity. Okay, so this is useful if you are going to process these files or those files of interest using the same method or the same tool. Then you can just create a data collection and then place those files in that collection. So I'll do for the count here. Okay, so I'll come to this side, see where this checkbox is. So click it, and then you have a checkbox for each of the files. So I'll select all the count files here, and then I am going to come to this side. Here it says 7 of 8 selected. So come to the arrow to the right side of it and click it, and then come to build data lists, data set list. All right, so click on build data set list. So click it, and then once we are here, come to this side, name, enter a name for new collection. So I'll just say counts. And then I'll click on create, or you can also say counts because we have multiple samples. So counts, and then go to create collection. So create it, and then once you do that, this is what's going to happen. The count files will be hidden. Then you rather see counts, this one here. So this has the data set. So when you click it, you are going to find your count file there. So this is what we want to do. Okay, so I'm doing it because one of the tools we'll use requires to supply a data set collection. Okay, I repeat, I did this because one of the tools we are going to use requires a data set collection. So we need to prepare our data so that everything is in a data set collection. That's what we have done here. Okay, so now we are ready to start the exercise. So let's proceed. Okay, so now we are going to create our workflow. Okay, now before I create a workflow, let me say that you can run DESeq by just selecting the tool here. So you can say DESeq2. You can just search for it, and then you can open it, and then you can select your options, your data set, everything, and then run it. All right, I've already covered a tutorial on that, but for this tutorial, we are going to create a workflow that accepts the data set here. So the workflow will include DESeq2, and that will perform the differential expression analysis. Okay, now the reason why I want us to create a workflow is that workflows come in handy if you are going to reuse a tool or a group of tools. All right, so if you are going to reuse them repeatedly, then you don't need to always come to this side, search for that tool like DESeq2, for example, click it, and then you come and then you select your options and all those stuff. So that can be a waste of time if you are going to reuse the tool. All right, another reason is that if, let's say, you have data sets that are of similar formats, or you have data sets that are from different stages but the same format, all right, and you are going to use the same tools to analyze those data sets, then all the more reason why you need to create your workflow, so that all that I have to do is to specify the input files and then just run it. All right, so workflows saves us a lot of time if you really know what you are doing. Okay, so that's why we are going to create a workflow for this. Okay, so let's get back to the Galaxy homepage, and then let's create a workflow. So if you want to create a workflow, then you have to come to this side, click on workflow. So click it, and then you'll be sent to another page. All right, so if this is the first time you are using the workflow system, then what is going to happen is that you are going to see nothing here. But if you have already imported workflows or you have created workflows before, then you will see your workflows here. For me, I've created one workflow, which is genome assembly and annotation. All right. And by the way, I have a tutorial that shows how to do that. So this workflow was generated when I prepared another tutorial. So if you're interested in learning how to generate the workflow for genome assembly and annotation, you can check that video. The link is in the description box. Okay, now back to DESeq2. So we are going to create our workflow. So to do that, come to this side, create this button here. So click on create. And when you click on create, you have this coming up. So give it a name. I'll say DESeq2. And then we have annotation. So annotation is used to give a description of the workflow. So I'll just say, let's say gen expression analysis package or tool, whatever you want to call it. It's just a description. So you decide what is best for you. All right. Now you can click on create. So when you click on create, then the workflow will be created. At the moment, it's a blank workflow, meaning that we have not added any tool. Okay, we've not added any tool yet. So we will have to add a tool. You have the attributes here, which you can always change. Okay, so that one I will leave it to you, but let's start. So let's get back to this. I think I'll just duplicate this one here. Let's get back to this side. Let's see. I'll duplicate this and I'll use one of them to display the history. Okay, I'll just come to Galaxy. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, I even forgot. So it's always advisable to create a history and then you can use that, okay, for your analysis. So here I'm using an unnamed history, but I can change it. So you decide what you want, but I advise that you always change it. Okay, so I think I will do that just for us to be sure that this is what we really want. I'll say DESeq2. I forgot to do that first, so I have to do that now. Okay. If you want a new history, just come to the plus sign here, click it, and then you have a new history, which will be called unnamed history, and then you can edit it. That's fine. Okay. Now back to what I want us to do. So we have our input files. All right. So with the workflow, we will import this and then this, the count dataset collection and then the design tags. So you will need them. And so when we come to the workflow itself, you will need to get this one, inputs. So click on inputs and then click on inputs dataset collection. All right, so this is what we will use to take the dataset collection. That is this one here. This one here. Okay, so I'll just give it a name. So when I click it, I'll come to this side label and I'll say counts data collection. I can add annotation, but I'll just leave it. Okay, let's just say count data. So this is going to be one input. And then we also need to supply another one, which is the input data set. So I'll click it like this. So we will use this for the design tags file, this one here. So that is this one here. So here I will just say label tags file. Okay, so let's say tags. Okay. Then we are going to add something else. So we call it the tag elements. So in the tool section, all right, search for tag elements. I'm going to show you that very soon. So search for tag. So type tag, TAG. Then you can add elements. So we have that here. So it's called tag elements. So click it. And then we'll have it also here. We will need this. All right. So we will use this to aggregate the information here. And so we will need to supply our input collection, which is this one here. So we will need to direct it to the task elements. Let me just pull this one. So just click on this. Let me just get back. So click on this blue circle with the arrow. And then you have this line. So just pull it to the, let me just add it here. I think that will be better. So just pull it here. Let me do it again. Yeah, okay, so just pull this. And then this one too will come to the tag collection elements according to this file. So we have our tag collection elements in this file. So we'll pull it also here. Right, okay. So we have that done. Okay, so now let's click on the tag element again. You need to add a label. It's important. So click the tag elements, and when you come to label, you say tags, or let's say tag elements. Okay, so we are giving it a label. Description, you can do that, so you can leave it. Let's just say tags. That's fine. Now we have to also bring in DESeq2. By the way, you can zoom in a bit here if you want to make it larger. So now let's bring DESeq2. So with the tool section, I'll search for DESeq2. So let me just type it. I'll search for DESeq2. And there's it. So I'll just click it. And it's hidden somewhere here. Okay, so there's it. I'll just drag it here. And then I'll do some modification. Now with the DESeq2, you'll see it says factor 1, factor 2, etc. We are going to do some modification here. Okay, so the modification will depend on the data sets you are interested in, and then the strategy you want to use for the analysis. All right, or let's say the strategy of the inputs. Let me just put it that way. So here, DESeq2, just click it and then come to the label. Let's give it a label first. And then annotation, let's say gene expression analysis. And then let's scroll down. So scroll down to this side. Select data set per level. So here, we are now going to select data set per level. We click it. We are going to select based on group tags. Okay, so I'll click it. Okay, I repeat, I'm going to click it to select group tags corresponding to levels. That is because we have a design tags file which has that information, and we have also defined that here. So that's why we are using select group tags corresponding to levels. Okay, so that's what we need to do. Maybe later I'll show you how to also use the other strategy, but for now, let's do what we have. Okay, now when you scroll down, you see insert factor. Okay, let's just scroll down. So when you come to insert factor, let's open this. In this particular tutorial, in this experiment, let's just open it here. We have two factors. We have the treatment and we also have sequencing. Of course, the treatment is the main factor, but we also have this one here. Okay, so these are the two. So these factors here, that means that the differential expression analysis, or let me say the differentially expressed genes, they are influenced, or they can be influenced by each of these groups here. Okay, so we have treatment, we have sequence. So we can have differentially expressed genes based on untreated and treated, and we can also have differentially expressed genes based on the sequence, that's single end and paired end. But of course, the main one is the treatment, so we will specify that as well. So let's get back to our Galaxy page and then continue. So with the attributes, we are now done with the select groups tags corresponding to levels. When you come to insert factor, then we are going to supply two factors because we have treatment, we have sequencing. So I'll click on insert factor, and then this is the first one, that's factor 1. So factor name, I'll say treatment. All right, and now we are going to insert the factor levels. So for treatment, let's get back to this document. So for treatment, we have untreated, we have treated. All right, so those are the factor levels. So we will have to specify them. So I have to come to insert factor level. So I'll click it and now insert the first one. So factor level. So this one, click and then clear it and say treated. That is the factor level, that's the name. Now scroll down, you see this, it says select groups that correspond to this factor level. So here I'm going to skip it. I'll enter it when I'm about to execute the workflow. Let's insert the second factor level. So I click on insert factor level, click it, and then you have it here. So this is the second factor level. So clear this one and then say untreated. So here to the same, the select groups that correspond to this factor level, we will leave it, we will do the entry when we are about to execute the Webflow. So now we are done with the first factor. Let's look at the second factor, and that is sequencing. So I'll come to click this one here. I'll click the insert factor, and the factor name, I'll say sequencing. And then for factor levels, let's check. We have SC and a P, that's single and then paired, right? Now the tags here has that we have single and paired. Okay, so I'll just do that. So insert factor level, this is the first one. Factor level, I'll say P. I'll leave this one, and then second factor level, let's scroll up, that SE. Right, so these are the parameters. The rest we will leave them as they are. Right, all the others we will leave them with their default settings. So now I'm going to save this Webflow. Okay, but before I save, I need to come back here and then connect these tools. Okay, I have to connect them to this one. So here, these two, they've been fed to tag elements, and now we can push the final information to the count files collection, this one here. Okay, so let's just pull this line aside. Let's pull again. You need to make sure it's there. I think it's just a matter of you pulling it properly. Yeah. Okay, so that is also done. All right. So we have that. Now, here with the DESeq output, we will leave them. We want all the outputs, so we are not going to do anything else. So this becomes our final Webflow. So if you have your count data, then you just need to create a Webflow like this and then define the information that is required, and then you can run it. So now let's save the Webflow. So I'll click on Save Webflow. So I'll click it to save it. And then that is done. So now I can run the Webflow. That's what we are going to do next. Okay. So let's get back here to this home page here. And then let's click on Webflow. Right, so click on Webflow. So when you click on Webflow, you are going to see the Webflow you created, DESeq2, because you have saved it. So now you have to come to this side, this one here, Run Webflow. So click it to run. And then when you click it to run, you have this page coming up. So you have to specify the inputs. So here it says count dataset collection. You have to select your count dataset. Okay, the dataset collection we create, this, which is this one here. So it has already been selected, but if that's not what you see, just click and then select it. And then when we come to the tags file, it's design_tags.tsv. So if you don't see it here, just click and select it. Okay. Now let's click expand to full Webflow form. So click it, and then you see some stuff here. All right. So here for tag elements, we are not going to do any entry, but for DESeq2, we'll do some entry. So click it to expand and then scroll down a bit. And then we are going to supply the information for the factor levels. That's what we are going to indicate here. So I have treated, untreated. So for the factor levels, you have to check the words or the terms you use in the design tags. So here I have untreat, treats. Okay, that's for the treatments. So let's get back to the Galaxy form. So here it says treated, so that is treats. And then for untreated, it's untreats. And then when we come to the other factor level, which is sequencing, we have P, that is paired. And then we have single, that is SC, so single. But let's just confirm from the tags, design tags. So we have single, we have paired, so everything is fine. All right, so we have that done. So that is all. Okay, so if let's say you want to execute, then you just have to come to this side and click on Run Webflow. Okay, so if let's say you also have a different data set, or let's say you want to run the Webflow on another data set, then all I have to do is to import the data set here, and then just specify that in the entry boxes here. That's it. All right, so this allows you to rerun the workflow multiple times. Okay, so now let's click this to run the workflow. So click it, and then the workflow will start running. So we have to wait for the output to get generated. Okay, so let's wait for everything to get done for us. So once everything is done, you will see some additional outputs here. Okay, so we see the outputs being generated. So we have to wait for the analysis to get completed. Okay, the workflow has executed successfully. So you will see the notification here. And you're also going to see 3 outputs with green background. So this is the output for the tag elements. So this one here, let me just go back. This one here has information for this and this. And then the information is then passed on to DESeq2. And then DESeq2 will perform the analysis. So DESeq2 itself will generate these 2 outputs. I think we saw that here. We have this and this. So those are the ones which are here. So there's a PDF, which is this one here, and there's the result file, which has the statistics. Okay, so you can just check them out. So you can download them and then just view them. Okay, I've already covered the tutorials which explains these outputs. So the description, you find links to those videos. All right, so here you can download them. You can download this one. You can also download the PDF. The PDF has visualization. So just click it. Let's just download the PDF. I'll just click to save it. So I have it here. Yeah, I think I had earlier on downloaded the results. So there's it. I'll just open it for us to see. So this is it. So I'll just open it with my PDF viewer. So I have that here. So these are the visualizations. I've explained the outputs here in another tutorial. So check the description box, you'll find links to those videos. We also have this one here, the result file, which is here. Let's click to download it, which is this one here. So I'll just save it. So I'll save it here. And I'll check it out. So it's downloading now. Let's wait for it to get downloaded and we can view it. Okay, I think it's done now, so we can check it out. So I'll open it. It is here, so I can just open with my spreadsheet software. So it's been opened now. So there's it. So the headers I've also specified in the description box, and you can even see them also here. So gen ID, base name, log2fc, etc. So you can even use this to track the information. All right, so there's it for the DESeq2 results. Okay, so there's it for DESeq2. Now, after you have identified your differential expressions, you can perform generation analysis, you can perform functional analysis, you can perform ontology analysis, you can perform pathway analysis. Right? So these are things that I'm currently working on. And so once I'm done with these tutorials, I'm going to share. Okay, so in the meantime, what you can do is to watch more RNA Seq tutorials by following this playlist. You can also check this other playlist, which has tutorials on how to use Galaxy for bioinformatics.